Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to wait for you guys to tune in on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Hi, hi, hi. Come in, say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is your first time joining us, definitely comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Facebook, YouTube, good morning. Also comment, good morning, God is the greatest. Thanks for tuning in. Carrie Harriet on YouTube, good morning. Canary, good morning. Ken's Man Official, morning as well. Chicks, good morning. Bold and beautiful, sending love right back to you. Evans from Washington, good morning. Mrs. Hustle Habit, good morning. First timer, Epic from Dallas, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Bold and Beautiful says God is good all the time. Flawless Francine says good morning. Epic Movement, good morning. Good morning, guys. How's everyone doing? Dorothy says good morning. Auntie Ayesha, good morning. Lene says, hey girl, the most beautiful lawyer in the A from Virginia. Thank you so much. How are you doing? Okay, guys, let me introduce myself for the first timers. My name is Ayesha Chidole, and I'm an immigration lawyer here in the United States, and I help immigrants or those trying to immigrate to the United States get a green card or citizenship. We take cases in every 50 states, even though we are located in Atlanta, Georgia. Your location is not a problem. We cover all states. We handle all family-based, all majority of the humanitarian-based cases like VAWA cases, T visas, U visas. We do appeals, respond to noise, naturalization, and all that good stuff. So we can just jump right into it. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, I do these lives to educate you guys on what's going on in immigration, answer questions where, you may need clarification and understanding of something. So feel free to throw your questions right in and I'll get to as many as I can. And, public service announcement, it's okay if I don't get to your question. You can always ask it again next time or schedule consultation. The reason why is that sometimes the questions move really fast and I may not see your question because there are a lot of questions, or sometimes it might just not be a question based on a case that we do. So there's no point of me going down a rabbit hole. But anywho, let's get right into it. BO says, I have been seeing people get approved for VAWA within the 3-year time frame. Is it the same for your clients? I honestly can't wait to get approved and be done with VAWA. For my clients, yes, it is within the same time frame. We typically would see most people between 2 to 3 years. Sometimes a little earlier than the 2-year mark. It's rare, but that can happen. And typically if it's before the 2-year mark, it's, usually based on an expedited request for a valid reason. It's very hard to get expedited reviews approved. However, if you have a valid reason and you can provide proof of that valid reason, we can. And I understand that you said, you can't wait to be approved. The timeline is long. But one of the benefits of VAWA, if you're eligible to apply for adjustment of status, is that you can get your work permit and you can get a travel permit and you can get your social security number while your case is pending. So essentially the same things that you would get as a green card holder, which allow you to travel freely inside and outside the US, as long as you don't have anything else in your record stopping you. And same, you can work anywhere. So while the wait might be a little longer, at least that, you have certain flexibilities while you wait. The one thing that I would say, and to remind all of you again, is that, if you do have a pending VAWA application and you do divorce your spouse, I know it's a long time, you meet somebody else and that person wants to marry, you cannot remarry. If you remarry, you will basically nullify any approval that you get from your VAWA. So you need to wait till your VAWA case has been approved or a decision has been made before you do anything else. So make sure you don't do that, okay? Good morning, The Dream. My VAWA application has been pending 2.2 years and I have been prescribed Atty recently. Can I send this to expedite my VAWA? I don't know what Atty is. I'm not really sure what that is. But if it's something that is a health crisis and perhaps maybe you need your green card status to be able to get insurance to cover the cost of your health, that would definitely be a valid reason. We had a client who had open heart surgery, and of course, that's really cost prohibitive. Going back and forth, to the hospital, we were able to show that. And then sometimes it might be related to someone related to you on a close level where you need that. So, I would need to know what activin is and what your condition is to do it. Okay. All right. I'm a citizen. Can I file for my brother whose visa has expired? Chikes, you can technically file for your brother. Now, is your brother going to get approved anytime before 16 years from now? Most likely no. And your brother has to be in status in the United States. So technically, as a U.S. citizen, you can file for a sibling. However, the sibling is the lowest priority. So meaning, depending on what country you're from, you can be looking at anywhere from like 16 to 20 years. So, and during that time, they have to be in status, or they have to have a qualifying relative where they can get a hardship waiver. If they get a hardship waiver, then they'll be able to go back home after that's approved and finish up the process. So it's a little complicated with a sibling once they've overstayed. Okay. The dream said anxiety meds. It's unlikely you get an expedite for that, just because basically almost everyone with VAWA is dealing with anxiety and PTSD from abuse. So you would need a little bit more, and how it relates to because if you are able to get like your prima facie and work permit and travel permit, what essentially would you be seeking, to expedite, that would make a difference in your health. Like the example I gave you, for instance, they needed the green card to be able to get coverage, to be able to continue their heart surgery and stuff like that. So, yeah. Lucas says, good morning again. I have a VAWA pending. I have a deportation 23 years ago. Is it still safe to go visit my dad? No, it is not. I would need to know exactly I'll need to know your immigration history, but right now the answer is no. Do not leave the country, because I don't know if you actually were ordered deported and you didn't go, you went, you came back. Like, I don't know your situation. So definitely no. Okay. All right, let's see what else. Let me go to Instagram. YouTube is busy today. I'm an F1 student. My partner's in the Navy. Please, how long will it take for me to get my citizenship when I apply? Well, the process is that you have to get your green card before you can get your citizenship. So your green card will normally take anywhere from 16 to 13 months on average. When I say this timeline, it means that there are going to be some people that's going to take less time and some people it's going to take more time. Once you get that, as long as you stay in continued marital union and residency with your spouse, then after that, you can then apply for naturalization if eligible after the 3-year mark. So you can put in your application as early as 2 years and 9 months, but that's the general window. Okay. My VAWA has been approved, but my I-485 an RFE was requested. I've sent it in, and it's been 3 months, no response, called in for a pass, and they can't get information. 3 months is not a long time to hear back for an RFE. Usually can take anywhere from up to 1 month to 6 months. So after 6 months, then maybe you want to try and see if you can seek congressional assistance or an ombudsman assistance, and then ultimately if those don't work, then you may want to consider suing the USCIS. Married to a U.S. citizen, and my B2 just expired. What is the true best way to go about my I-130 and I-485? Well, if your B2 has expired and you're already here in the United States, you can potentially do an adjustment of status if eligible. if you're married to a U.S. citizen, because typically when you're married to a U.S. citizen, they'll pardon an overstay of an expired visa as long as you entered with a visa, versus if you came into the country without inspection and you're married to a U.S. citizen, then your only option is either to go back home after you get a 601 waiver. If you're eligible for VAWA, if your spouse is abusive, you can stay here and do it. And then, of course, stay in this pending stage if you qualify for this new Biden PIP. As I mentioned to you guys a couple of weeks ago, right now, Biden PIP is on hold due to the lawsuits that were brought by 13 states saying that it was unconstitutional and, all this other blah, blah, blah. So people can put in the application, but USCIS cannot make a decision until the court decides how they want to proceed with the case. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, these are for people who came into the United States at least prior to or by June 15, 2014, and are married to a U.S. citizen and entered without inspection. You must have entered without a visa inspection to be eligible for that. So, but again, it's, you can put in your application. It's just that they can't make any decision right now because there's a temporary restraining order by the court saying USCIS cannot make any decision until they agree on what to do. Okay, let's see what else we have. I keep seeing a duplicate of the same question. God is great, as you asked your question like 20 times, but hopefully you've gotten your answer now. So I can't even see any other questions. I filed for VAWA in October of 2023. It's almost been a year. Since then, I've received my prima facie, my EAD, and my EAD bill. However, the processing time was at 32, 34 months, and now it's going up to 40 months. What does that mean? It basically is telling you, do not bother us. USCIS is basically telling you, do not bother us until this time. That's literally what it means. It doesn't mean that it's going to take your case 40 months, but basically they're saying, do not bother us till 40 months from now, because 80% of people are going to be approved within that time frame. If you fall out of that time frame, then you can bother us. So I think it's a way for them to control the amount of contact and costs, where they didn't have that before, and people would just call and nothing. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take 40 months for your case. But a realistic timeline is between 2 years to 3 years. Okay. I got my VAWA approval with an EAD. I want to know how long it will take to get my green card approved. Usually you should hear something within 6 months of the VAWA approval. If you don't hear, then it's time to do an inquiry. Okay, let's see. I applied for a pending VAWA, and now I have to renew my work permit. Should I put C9 or C31 on the form? You can't put C31 on your form if you have a pending case. C31 are for those who have been approved for VAWA. C9 is if you have an adjustment of status application already pending. If you do have an adjustment of status, which is your 485 pending, then yeah, you can do C9 to renew. Can somebody file for divorce while waiting for their N400? Yes, you can. However, when you do go for your oath ceremony, you should be able to present your divorce decree there, just so that they can adjust your naturalization certificate, because it would have your marital status on there. If you haven't been scheduled for your interview and the divorce is happening, and let's say you get divorced by the time your interview date comes, then make sure you bring your divorce decree so that they know you're divorced and can adjust your status, okay? Can one expedite green card through VAWA or just wait on the process? I just talked about this like 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, so just go back to the beginning of this live and I talked about it, and then you can find out the answer. I want to marry my wife. I don't understand your question. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't understand your question, Luca. So I can't answer it. I applied for removal of conditions on my green card over a year. I've been married 4 years now. Removal of conditions take 2 years, minimum. So that's why right now they give you the extension for 4 years. to remove the conditions on your green card. However, there are certain ways to expedite or move your case quicker. One way is if you've become eligible to apply for citizenship, to apply for citizenship. If you apply for citizenship, what will happen is that they'll make a decision for both on the same day. So they'll interview you for your removal of condition and move over to your citizenship removal all at the same time. So, that's, one way you can kind of do it. Okay. I'm doing adjustment of status of my U.S. citizen spouse. How long will an I-130 485 take? Could take 6 to 13 months. Some people a little earlier, some people a little later, but majority of the people will fall in that window. How long does it take to get a work permit from VAWA? If you are doing a standalone VAWA application because you don't have an adjustment of status, you're not going to get a work permit until your VAWA case is approved. Or if you do select the wrong category, you're not going to get a work permit until your VAWA case is approved. If you have an adjustment of status application with your VAWA application, then you can do your work permit application based on that adjustment. And then if you do that, the timeline would be like 4 to 9 months. Okay. Some of those questions are all the same. So hopefully the answer you got can you have 2 VAWA cases? No, you cannot. You need to withdraw one. You don't need 2 VAWA cases. No. Let's see. I answered another question similar to this. Do you take on new clients in DC? We take clients in every state in the United States and internationally, as long as you're looking to immigrate to the United States. We will take your case. Yeah. Well, if it's something that we offer. Can I have 2 VAWA cases with parent and spouse? I'm not really sure. Oh, you mean like if you're saying that you're eligible for VAWA based on your parent abusing you and you're eligible for VAWA based on your spouse abusing you? Is that what you're asking? In that case, there's nothing in the rule that precludes that. But why don't you just do whichever one is a stronger, application, and that you have more evidence instead of doing both. Because then, you're applying for 2. Well, if you're doing, you can have 2 adjustment of status. You can have 2 I-485s, but, it can create a confusion that, I would typically recommend to a client of mine, if you were a client of mine or someone came to a consult, pick one. Which one is a more viable application and start with that one. It's different if you're saying, I'm eligible for a T and I'm eligible for a VAWA and I just want to apply for the both or whatever it is, because, with a T is not necessarily associated with an adjustment of status, but to do 2 exact VAWA cases, just one for a parent and one for, a spouse, it's confusing to even your own self. Okay. I got my green card this May after being married for 3 years. Can I apply for citizenship? I've been declaring taxes for more than 5 years due to CPT and OPT. Good for you that you're declaring taxes. But no, you cannot apply for citizenship. You have to have had, if you got that green card through marriage, you have to wait 3 years. 3 years from when you, this is the rule of 3. So 3 years from when you got your green card. 3 years, your spouse has to be a U.S. citizen for 3 years. So those are the rules to do citizenship based on marriage for the 3-year requirements. Can I file for VAWA against parents if I am 24? Technically, yes. Technically, it's late, so you have to really have a justified reason associated or related to the VAWA case. So typically, a child can file for VAWA against a parent if the child is under 21. However, there is a limited exception and window that allows you to file for VAWA if you're between the ages of 21 to 24 before you turn 25, if you can show the reason for the delay is related to the abuse in some capacity. Okay. All right, let me go back. Do you offer free consultations? No, we do not. Our consultations are $150 to speak with a lawyer, evaluate your case, and then typically once you're done with your consult, we provide you with a PDF of our process and timeline, costs, what to expect, some of the requirements, so you can prepare yourself for it. Can an I-485 pending case get a travel permit? Absolutely. So if you have a pending I-485, you can certainly apply for a travel permit unless you are in deportation or have a pending deportation order. Usually USCIS will deny that if you do, or sometimes it might slip through the crack where they would approve it, but you definitely do not want to travel if it slips through the crack and you're in one of those situations, because you don't want the risk of not coming back to the US. Believer says, please repost this live. I will do that. After I get my prima facie VAWA, how long do I wait to get my work permit? So your work permit is not associated with your prima facie. So work permit, you typically want to count from when you put in that work permit and adjustment of status application, that's associated to the VAWA. So from a timeline perspective, as I mentioned earlier, it can take like 4 to 9 months. A lot of people right now we're seeing, before it was like 4 to 6.5, but now we're seeing more like 5 to 6.5 months. There will always be unicorns who get theirs a little earlier, 2 months later. In fact, we had someone that got it 2 weeks later, like to the point where I was like, well, is this a mistake? Like, like I was checking the day, I was like, wow, that's really early. But of course, that's not the norm. So I try to give you guys what the true norm is, from a timeline. But if you get it earlier, then great. How long are work permit renewals with VAWA taking? Well, Milton, it depends on when you submitted your work permit. If you submitted your work permit application before the 6-month expiration of your current one, and you are eligible for an automatic extension, what am I trying to say? Basically, your receipt extends your work permit while you wait on them to make a decision on your work permit, so that way you're not just kind of waiting for that. So the key is you have to just apply before the deadline, because otherwise, it can take up to 9 months or more for renewals. Okay, let's see what else we have. How soon after filing taxes can I sponsor an I-864? As soon as your taxes are available. So like if you're, typically they want your most recent tax year. So like if you're filing for someone today, they want 2023 taxes. So the best taxes would be your IRS tax transcript, unless your 1040, which is the one that, you'd get like a copy of when the, accountant or TurboTax files it, has like your PIN number where they can independently verify that on the IRS, or signatures. But honestly, just to avoid any kind of confusion, it's always better to just send the IRS tax transcript once it's available. And then outside of that 1 year, most recent year taxes, they typically want the numbers of your previous taxes. So even though you don't have to submit the other 2 years, they want the number, like your total income for those numbers. So you just want to know them. If you don't have it available to put the accurate number inside, at our firm, we just submit all 3 years, even if it's optional, unless the client absolutely doesn't have it. But it doesn't really make sense, because if you know the number of what the taxes are, then you most likely have the taxes. Anyway, guys, one more question and then I got to jump off. Okay. After getting a green card, how long does it take for processing of a child outside the country? Right now, visas are not current, so it's going to take a little longer, like as a green card holder, to petition for a child under 21. I believe right now they're processing cases from 2021, at least as of the September bulletin. I don't think they've released October yet. If they have, I haven't seen it yet. So that's a couple of years, like at least 3 years. Unfortunately, but again, the visa bulletin changes every month. So it can go from 2021 to now it's current. So it all depends. All right, guys, I got to jump off. I have a meeting, but if I didn't answer your question, schedule a consultation and we can talk confidentially. Otherwise, I'll see you guys when I join live again. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye.